So when you only have a small amount of filament left on the spool, what can you print? What's worthwhile printing? Hi, my name's Darren. Welcome to my workshop. So the answer to the question at the beginning of the video, for me anyway, is to print small, useful little devices that come in handy for things. One thing I've designed and built is this handy little thread gauge for checking the threads of bolts, and I've had it up on Thingiverse for a while now. It's proven to be quite popular, so we'll have a look at that. Another little device I made that doesn't require a lot of plastic is this attachment here for my Ryobi vacuum. That one there. So you can see it's a thin little attachment that fits on the end of the vacuum cleaner, and the idea behind that is drilling a hole in a wall or anything else. This will allow you to suck the dust up. You've seen these things before, but I've built one that fits this particular vacuum. So we'll take a look at that and see how well that performs. And the last thing I wanted to have a quick look at wasn't something I've built, it was actually a wood filament. I've got some bamboo filament from a company called eSun. Took some various different failed prints to get the temperatures and things right. So I'll go through that with you in case you want to use the same filament. All right, let's move on. The idea behind the thread gauge is very simple. You've got some bolts. You don't know what size they are. Maybe you've just removed one from a piece of equipment and it's got to be replaced, and you think, oh, what size bolt do I need to go and buy? So you take the thread gauge, you take your bolt, and you find an appropriate hole that it might screw into, and you try and screw it in. And if it screws in nice and easily, like this one's doing, then that's your gauge, and you just look, that's your size, sorry, and you just look on here, and that's a 1/4 UNC. All right. And so we've got a range of different sizes here, so that's 1/4. This one should be a 5/16, and indeed it is. You can see that's threading through nice and easily there. That's a nice 5/16. And of course we've got our metric as well along the top. This one is an M5. You can see there. Just screws nicely into the M5 slot. So there you go. Nice and simple. There you go, and that one's an M8. Now, of course, if things aren't going in nice and easily, either your screw's cross-threaded or it's a different pitch or a different thread kind. So stop, don't ruin the gauge. But these will be the most common sizes. Certainly here in Australia, with our big chain of hardware stores called Bunnings, they're everywhere. They seem to use UNC, or what they call here Whitworth. It seems to be the same. And metric are the common threads. So certainly around these parts, that'll come in handy for everything. And I assume probably the same deal for the rest of the world. So that's thread gauge 2 on Thingiverse. I'll leave a link to that down below. So in order to test out this attachment for the vacuum, the hand vacuum, I'm going to stack a couple of pieces of wood on the bench. I'm going to put a spacer block down first, so as I don't end up drilling into the bench, and then just clamp a scrap of pine on top of that. So there we go. And it doesn't matter if I drill into the spacer either, because it's just scrap wood. Alrighty. And we're going to take just a trusty Festool hand drill there, and the old vacuum cleaner. So all you do, I built this for work, for drilling holes in walls without leaving bits of dust on people's floors. But I'm sure we can do it in a piece of wood, and I'm sure it will work there too. So here we go. Works perfectly, look at that, no dust at all. It's all been sucked up. All been sucked up into the vacuum cleaner. I've done a review on this vacuum before, but this is the Ryobi R18 HV that I'm using this attachment on. I've been contemplating trying a wood-based filament in 3D printing for a while here, so as I could incorporate it into projects a bit more. One thing I had in mind was building some sort of logo or decorative element that I could then inlay to the top of my work. So I saw that one of the local suppliers of filament in Australia here had some stuff by a company called eSun, a bamboo filament. So I thought I'd give that a whirl. This is it here in the box. You can see. Now just have a look at the temperature there, 200 to 220. I did a lot of fiddling around, several failed prints before I got this to work properly. And let me tell you that certainly on my printer, 200. Don't go over 200, just stick there. Anything more than that and the filament starts to blacken, darken, and in my case at 210, it became a big thick glob that got stuck in the nozzle and or the print head, and I had to unblock it. So I wouldn't go over 200, maybe 205 as your first layer to stick it down. And that brings us to the second part of this, sticking it down. On their instructions here, let me bring up their instruction sheet and we'll just find bamboo. Let's see if we can, there we go, bamboo. This is the bed temperature here and it says 25 to 70. I found anything less than 65 degrees and the stuff just didn't stick to the print bed. It just came loose. At lower temperatures I tried tape and that glue stick, but still no good. I had to go up to 65 before it split. So if you're going to try this, my recommendation is print at 200 degrees on your print head and 65 for your print bed to keep it sticking. Now, the stuff itself, what's it like? Let's have a look. So it's a thinner roll than you'd be used to when you buy a normal kilo of PLA or ABS. And this is what the actual filament looks like here. You can see it's a brownish, well not ish colour, it's a chocolate brown kind of a colour. And when you print it, this is pretty much what it comes up like. This was just a little test logo I did. I don't think I'll use it. There was a lot of stringing between the letters when I first did it, and I used a blowtorch very quickly, mind you, to melt those off. But of course that left a couple of the letters a little bit charred, so I've sanded over that with a bit of, only 220 so far. It sands reasonably well. It doesn't sand like wood, but it sands a bit better than standard plastic. So yeah, you can work it afterwards. I was also, where I had a little bit of, they have a word for it in the 3D print community that I can't remember, elephant's footing I think, where your first layer sort of bulges out a little bit at the bottom. I think that's what they call it. And I was able to just trim that off with a knife quite easily. This is the bottom of it and what that comes out like off the base. It's a tricky filament, but you know, if you want to have a go at it, I wouldn't put you off. Certainly it'll have its functions, and hopefully I'll be able to come up with a slightly more interesting logo than that to inlay into something, and then I can show you the inlay thing I built and showed you in the last video actually being used. But yeah, if you've used any other wooden filaments, please let me know in the comments what you think of those and what sort of temperatures you used. That'd be great, not just for me, but for everybody else that reads the comments. So that would be super. Cheers. So that video was a little bit shorter than normal, but that's probably a good thing. Some of them were getting a bit long there. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it's been of some use to you. Have a really great day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye bye.